Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, everyone. Sorry, rather, carry.
Haribol, everyone. It's nice to see you all back. For those of you who are new, I'd like to welcome you to the School of Bhakti course, Sacred Ecology. So my name's Radha, and I'll be helping to facilitate the questions in the chat today. But yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces from last week, so welcome everyone. For those of you who are new, this course, it is a 5-week course, and we began last week, but never too late to join. And as the title suggests, Sacred Ecology is looking at ecology through the lens of the Vedas. Of course, this course is going to be mainly focused on cows and cow protection. And every week we'll be focusing on a different topic to do with cow protection. So today we will be looking at Dharma and ecology. This course is going to be facilitated by Sanj. He is a high school science and biology teacher, and he's from Bhaktivedanta Manor, and most of his service at the manor is to do with New Gokul Farm and looking after the Goshala there. So we're very fortunate to have his insights into cow protection. If you do have any questions throughout today's session, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you're very welcome to unmute yourselves. We try to keep things quite informal here, so please feel free to join in at any point you'd like to. Or you can always send me a private message if you'd like me to ask your question as well. So I'll hand it over to you, Sanj Prabhu, and you can get started.
Hare Krishna, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see me okay. It's so nice to be back together again. For me, it's been a very long week, and this is the highlight of my week. I've been very much looking forward to being back with everyone on a Saturday morning. So I hope you're well, and I hope you've had a nice week as well. And it's always so nice to come together for a short period of time on a Saturday morning to talk about cows. And it's something that's, dear to my heart, but clearly it's so dear to your heart that, we've decided to come together to, speak about cows on a regular basis. So Hare Krishna, everybody. And once again, it's just so nice to be back with everyone again. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and we shall get this party started. Here we go. All right, so let's kick it off. Okay. So as we know, this course is part of the School of Bhakti, which is based at Bhaktivedanta Manor in the UK. And I know we have a fair few international people, but if you are local, I highly recommend you come and visit us at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And if you're not so local, then if possible, make a trip at some point in your life to this extremely sacred space. Okay. So this is the Sacred Ecology course. Now, last week we kicked it off with the topic of why cows? Why are they so important? And we firmly put cows on that pedestal last week. And as we know, Sacred Ecology is going to be quite an elaborate series of talks. And this is the second one. A few weeks ago, we had a one-day course with Ranchor Prime Prabhu, talking about the divinity in nature. And this is the second part of that series, a spiritual introduction to cow protection. So for those that have joined today for the first time and you weren't here last week, welcome. My name's Sanj, and I don't have, I come from a school teacher background. My background is in science, and I've been working at Bhaktivedanta Manor for around 10 years with the cows. So I'm speaking from experience, but also speaking primarily from the Vedic literature, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And essentially I'm repeating what the founder of ISKCON has said, Srila Prabhupada. So if I do make any mistakes, please do forgive me. This is an open space and a sort of a safe space where we can have really nice, wholesome discussions. So feel free to ask lots and lots of questions. And if a question's been asked and you think you have the answer, please do provide the answer as well. And it will be quite a nice mood we can create. So to just create that sacred space around us, we'll say a few prayers, and it will get us into the mood of really the divinity of cows. So together, Om Jnana Tirimandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Amazing, wonderful. And the purpose of this course is to gain that holistic, foundational overview of the meaning of cow protection within the realm of ISKCON. We know last week we talked about cow protection, and we understood that Mahatma Gandhi in his time was talking about cow protection. But this is very much within the realm of ISKCON and what Srila Prabhupada said about cows. And just the overall structure for those that missed it last week. Last week we discussed the importance of cows and why cows over other animals. Today we are going to be talking about Dharma and ecology. Next week we are going to be talking about ahimsa, the idea of peaceful and a peaceful progressive society. On the fourth week, we are going to be talking about drawing spirituality from the cow. So what can we draw on a physical sense? For example, milk, cow dung, cow urine. But also with that, can we draw spirituality from the cows? And in the final week, week 5, we will be talking about simple living, but high thinking. And what is the future of cow protection going to look like in the next few years, perhaps the next 10 years, perhaps the next 50 years? What are we hoping to do? What are we hoping to achieve? We can also discuss what is already in the pipeline, and also ways that we can all get involved. So that will be on week 5, but we are in week 2, Dharma and ecology. And this is a foundational course because actually all of the topics that we study during this course can be opened up like a treasure box and can be turned into courses in their own right. So in the future, we will be having more in-depth courses about specific things. But for the next 4 weeks now, we will be just gaining an overview of everything. So I hope that's okay. And if there's any questions, as always, please do fire away. So last week, we had a few people volunteer and they opened up and shared why have they joined this course? What interests them about cows? Why do they love cows? What made them sign up to a course with the School of Bhakti that's all about cows? Now, I just want to open it up again. Would anyone like to just share the reasons why they've decided to join this course? Could anyone raise their hand and let us know? And then we can unmute you. Oh, I just seen, yeah, is that Felix? Brilliant. If we unmute Felix. Hold on, Felix. There we
How's
are.
that? Is that okay?
That's brilliant.
Oh, great. Right, you can hear me from sunny Manchester. Good. Yeah, well, I've always been a spiritual seeker. Well, for like the last 60 years. And I recently became passionate about veganism because I came to see, to understand and be honest that my cats and various pets are no different than cows and pigs and so on. And I just couldn't eat animals for food anymore. And also at a very personal level, I became interested in ISKCON, well, Krishna consciousness especially. So this course all pulled it together for me. So that's why I joined. Okay.
Amazing, Felix. Thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
we hope you're okay in Manchester. It's so nice that you joined. We have Shruti Mataji. Hello. If we can unmute Shruti.
Okay. Hare Krishna. How are you all?
We're very well, Shruti. How are you?
I just wanted to say thank you, Sanjay Prabhu, for organizing this course. And I just love cows, and I've always been brought up that they're so giving. They've always said that they're very special. And yeah, so that's why I love all animals, and I'm also vegan now, and I'm so glad that I am. And my favorite place is the Goshala at the manor, and the manor, of course. But yeah, that's it really.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shruti. And Shruti does some wonderful weekly services at the Goshala. Brilliant. Okay. We'll have one more. So Ravinder Saini. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I did a Gita Life course last year, and yeah, I wanted ways to serve Krishna. And yeah, I think I also, because of COVID, I have not volunteered, but yeah, once everything's open up, I would definitely like to do some volunteering work at the Goshala.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. This is very, very nice, and I'm just so happy. I've been very much looking forward to being here on a Saturday morning with you, just for this purpose of sharing our interests, sharing our passions, sharing that energy about cows. Okay, so what I've learned, actually, before we talk about Dharma and ecology, I want to put out a question to you, and you can just fire it away on the chat. What do you think we can learn from cows? From my own personal experiences, I can sort of come up with a few, but everyone else has different experiences with cows, perhaps less experiences, perhaps so much more experiences. What things can we learn from cows? If you can have a moment and then write down what you think in the chat, and we'll start sharing them. Let us know what we can learn from cows. What qualities, perhaps? What kind of behaviors do cows have that we can actually learn from? Anna's saying compassionate. Rasarani saying docile, in the mood of goodness. Denise is saying tolerance. Vanessa saying peaceful living. Felix says caring for their young. Shruti says gentle. Pamini says calm, peaceful. Very nice. Yes. Celine says selfless service. Rajani says eating only what is in our quota. Very interesting point. Panini, what's this? Amini says peaceful and giving, yes. Shruti again says givers. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. And they're all so true. We can learn so much from the behavior of cows. So over time, in my experience, I've learned a few things, some qualities that have become very prominent for me. The first one was actually patience. To train young oxen so that they can be productive, employed, and useful in the sense of work, so that they can till the land, it takes time. This here is an 8-year-old dairy shorthorn. About 4 months ago, his name's Arjuna. About 4 months ago, he was just a kicker. He used to use his beautiful horns actually for coming at me. But now, after about 3 to 4 months of working with him, we take him around for walks. He's very much a cuddly, he's a big old teddy bear. He's a big softie. But it just took a bit of time. That's all. There was nothing more than that. We've got 2 young oxen in training. This boy on the white and brown, his name is Ram, and our brown one on the other end is Baladev. They're both 2 years old now and are working hard, pulling things around the temple. So they're employed. But you can see, there has been times as their trainer that I've thought, it is so much easier to turn a little tractor on and just go, do the jobs, get it done, you know. But here, using these boys is a whole process. Training them takes time, but then just on the day, feeding them, prepping them, guiding them on a route that they're going to have to walk on, attaching something to their yoke. Everything takes a long time before the actual work gets started. But then what I realized was actually I've been conditioned to a very fast-paced London lifestyle. And I've been brought up in London. So everything's fast, quick, quick, quick. But actually, if we slow down and go to their speed, we feel it's more natural to us. It's just we've been conditioned to, you know, to a fast-paced lifestyle. So there's lots to be said about patience. This is Jatayu, one of our training oxen. What I've learned from him was tolerance. He was ill a couple of years ago. He was feeling a bit ill. But when the vet came in, the vet was like, actually, he's been ill for quite a long time, but we didn't realize because they just don't show their illnesses until it gets really bad. They're very tolerant. And unfortunately, if you've seen videos or you've been to slaughterhouses as part of your work or whatever it may be, when cows go into the slaughterhouse and you see other animals go into the slaughterhouse, cows are very tolerant. They generally quite accept their fate towards the end. It's heartbreaking to see. Whereas other animals will be a lot more vocal, a lot more physical in terms of like moving around, kicking, screaming. But when cows go in, there is a little bit of resistance, but eventually it's acceptance, very tolerant. So I've learned that. So very, very powerful. Self-control. This is Balaram. He's an ox who works. He's not in training. He's already trained. He's qualified, got the degree. He knows how to plow. But self-control is powerful. When people come to Bhaktivedanta Manor, or any other perhaps like a animal sanctuary around the world, it doesn't need to be just a Hare Krishna location. People transform. They realize how beautiful nature is, animals are, life is, that they decide to control their tongue. We've had it so many times where people visit us and leave saying, do you know what? I'm going to eat less meat and I'm not going to eat cows because I've just spent 2 hours brushing a cow. How can I now go off and eat beef? So self-control of the tongue. Many of you have said peacefulness. Yes, I do agree. This is Nandini not looking at the camera at all, not interested in what I have to say to her. She's just not interested. But she's a beautiful cow. She doesn't produce any milk anymore. She's not going to be having any more babies. Her life is just surrounded by grass and just, you know, being at peace. But I noticed, compared to other animals, cows and bulls don't actually fight. They will have their moments where they'll lock horns to establish a hierarchy system where she's more dominant than her or he's more dominant than him. They need that hierarchy system. But beyond that, they're very sociable. They're herd animals. They stay together. They lick each other. They like rub noses with each other. They huddle together at night and sleep next to each other. Very peaceful. And that's something for us to learn. Purity. Now this is Surabhi. Again, she does not produce any milk. And she's also, you know, has a life of leisure. We don't go too close to her just because she's quite feisty, and that's okay. We give her the space that she commands. But what we were noticing, and what everyone who works with cows notice, they can handle different climates. We have cows living in the hottest parts of the world, and we have cows living in the coldest parts of the world. But the moment they're kept in unclean places or dirty places, disease kicks in very quickly, they get ill very quickly, and they can leave very quickly. Very pure. If they're around filth, that's it. That's not good for them. And it's not good for the farmer or the caretaker of the cows, because he or she will then lose their cows. It's very important to make sure where they stay is maintained. We've got to make sure that they're healthy, that they're clean. Whatever they're eating is suitable. Where they're sleeping is appropriate. We cannot isolate them away from other cows. That's not acceptable either, because they are sociable, they're herd animals. But when you get all of this right, they give love in abundance. This was very important for me. One of my first services was being a milker at Bhakti Manor. So we hand milk our cows twice a day, early in the morning and late at night. And our cows know the drill. They know at this time I have to get up and be ready to hear my name. They all come up at a certain time and they listen out for their name. And if I call a cow Hema or Mukunda Priya or whatever name I call, she'll walk towards the milking parlor, get into her stall and just start eating and allow us to hand milk from her. And when we're done, we open the stall, we say done, or we say back. She backs up and walks back out. And then we go off and call the next one. So like that, we need regularity in our lives. We need to wake up regularly, nice and early in the morning. We need to be sleeping well. We need to eat well. We need to, maintain ourselves and be regular. If our lifestyle is very flippant and up and down and ever changing, we can never be truly at ease. So I really learned this from myself because I was quite young when I started milking. And, I was a young student and I had no regularity in my life. But over time, it's really sort of ingrained in me that I need to be regular just so that I'm controlled and my senses are controlled and, I'm focused. When we're not regular, our senses are all over the place and they will guide us in directions left, right, and center. Okay. And of course, religiousness. This is our young bull calf that was born, I want to say about 2 months ago now. His name is baby Krishna Prana. And he's a good boy. Very nervous. He's a bit of a nervous Nelly. And he stays close to mum. But his personality is coming through. He's got 2 little weapons sort of growing on him at the moment. And yesterday he was trying to experiment with them by pushing his horns into me. So it was really nice to see that actually he's becoming more and more confident. So the next part of his life actually is we will put a halter around him in the next couple of weeks around his head. And then we're just going to put a lead on him and just walk him around. And that way he's going to get used to being led. He'll get used to touch by all the people around the manor. And then over time, we'll progressively build up to voice commands. And then we'll go from there. He will hopefully have a life of service, but also a life of love at Bhakti Manor. Whenever a baby is born, a lot of the devotees are excited about the cows, but whenever a cow is born, I'm like, okay, cool. But when a bull is born, that's when you know it's going to be great because you can do a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun when you're working. So today, I just wanted to start that off by talking about some of the lessons and qualities of cows. And it was very nice to start with that. Now we're going to kick it off with Dharma and ecology. Okay, what could we be talking about with in a lesson of Dharma and ecology? Maybe you don't know what Dharma means. That's okay. Maybe you've heard of ecology. Okay. What might we be discussing in today's lesson? Write it on the chat. Let's see what ideas we could come up with. Let me know in the chat. What could we be learning about today on the topic of Dharma and ecology? Okay. Any ideas about Dharma and ecology? Rather saying what our duty is. Very nice. The relation between cow and the environment, an interrelation, says Rajani. Linda Haynes says cosmic law. Vanessa says, I don't know what Dharma means. That is okay. We're going to go through it today, Vanessa. Let's see. Ravinda saying, what is our duties towards Dharma, towards cow protection? Very nice. Felix is saying how best to integrate our everyday life with good ecological practice. Yes, for sure, for sure. That is definitely topics that we'll be talking about. Santi saying the cow represents the earth. Very true. We talked about that last week. Looking after the cows is the same as looking after the earth, says Santi. Very nice, Santi. Very true. And actually, I put this question towards a small group before this course, and I wanted to hear their ideas, and this is what they came up with. Sustainable living could be linked to Dharma and ecology. Climate change could be linked. Ecosystems. Duty, very common theme here. What is our duty? Varnashram. Varnashram is a very in-depth topic, and we're only going to touch on it today. But yes, that will be discussed. The environment, yes. Syntropy, diversity. Spirit souls. So perhaps we're not this exterior body, perhaps we're a little bit more than that. Mutualism / symbiosis, where we benefit, they benefit, happy days. Spirituality, and if we deviate from our duty, if we deviate from our Dharma, what could happen? Or what does happen? Okay. Shruti is saying the right action and duty to the cows. And Dr. Varun Shukla is saying, Dharam tu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. Nice. Sandeep saying the connection between cows and us. Yeah, very good. Very nice. Okay, so let's set the scene before we go into it. Speaking on the troubled condition of our modern world, the late historian Arnold Toynbee once said, the cause of it, i.e. the world's malady, is spiritual. We are suffering from having sold our souls to the pursuit of an objective which is both spiritually wrong and practically unobtainable. We have to reconsider our objective and change it. And until we do this, we shall not have peace either amongst ourselves or within each of us. It's very fitting what he's saying, actually. Our sort of moral compass, it has gone way off. What we see as success perhaps is not actually success. And let's just quickly just talk about perhaps the world we live in. It's very much a spend, spend, spend materialistic world. Society is now designed for us to work hard to make money, to then spend that money, only then to work hard to make more money to carry on spending it. Very much a consumer culture. Concrete jungles have been built in every part of the world, designed to lock us into this material world. Our senses in society are running wild. If we want to do something, we just do it, uncontrolled, unrestricted. We see the meat eating culture is just gaining more and more strength. It's been around for such a long time and it continues to be here. Here we see actually the idea of God has been deleted. Now humans think, we are God, we're in control. And planet Earth is, exists for our enjoyment. Worse than that is sometimes people open up this little bubble, take some sort of spiritual wisdom, use it for their own agendas, and we see horrendous acts being done throughout the world in the name of God. We're at war with each other, and we're at war within ourselves. Crime is high. Leadership is missing. At the moment, our leaders aren't helping us spiritually. They aren't helping planet Earth. We're missing true spiritual leadership around the world. And all of this leads to us feeling not at peace. Anxiety, depression, stress, the pressures of life, trying to keep up with something that we can't keep up, that we shouldn't actually have to keep up with, but we're in the rat race. And in a world where there's so many people and so much connection, we feel less connected than ever. And we're having battles with ourselves here. And not just ourselves, we are exploiting Mother Earth in ways that, it's powerful. So we are coming into an ecological crisis. Now, scientifically speaking, what makes up an ecological crisis? What is going wrong with the ecosystem of planet Earth? What is happening around the world that's really bad and making planet Earth quite inhospitable for animals and eventually for us? Let me know in the chat what you think defines an ecological crisis. On the chat, let me know what you guys think. So what defines ecological crisis? Vanessa saying the abuse of natural resources. Yeah. Santi saying global warming. Anna saying the earth is getting hot. Felix is saying the overconsumption of the earth's resources. Yeah. All very true. All very true. Scientifically speaking, ecological crisis can be defined in a certain way. And this is sort of like a GCSE plus A level sort of answer. So this is what I teach my students at school. Okay, deforestation is one of them. Land contamination, soil erosion and degradation. Land use change. So the use of land is changing and habitats are being lost. And when habitat is lost, biodiversity is at a loss. There's a scarcity of fresh water. There is an abundance of salty water, and that salty water, the amount of salty water is growing, it's increasing, and the amount of fresh water, drinkable water, is decreasing. Degraded water quality, yes. Degraded air quality comes under an ecological crisis. Stratospheric ozone depletion. The ozone layer is thinning out. It's already naturally very thin, but it is being affected. The ozone layer actually reflects all that majority of the harmful UV radiation from the sun. But when more and more UV radiation comes through, it can really cause havoc with our genetics. Mutations can be caused. There's a higher chance of mutations, and therefore cancer is increasing and new forms of cancer are developing. And then climate change. But we're going to call climate change anthropogenic climate change because it's human caused climate change. Often we forget that. In a dialogue, we often say that, you know, it's just climate change. But let's not forget who's the culprit in all of this. It's us. So we say anthropogenic climate change. Pamini is saying the depletion of natural resources. And Ashwin is saying the increase in natural disasters. Yeah, very good. Very true. So, and then when we compare this to the Vedic literature, beautiful forests, rivers that are clean and pure, you know, we can really see that something's gone wrong. We've gone wrong somewhere along the line. So now spiritual direction is certainly needed. A society based on service to God is needed. And thankfully, all the thinking has been done really for us. Srila Prabhupada has given us the information we need. And during the think tank for this course, someone mentioned that, why do we need to serve God to get, you know, where is that, where does service to God come into this? Well, throughout this lesson, we'll talk about it, but actually we're always being of service to something or the other. Either we're serving ourselves, we're serving all of our various senses, we're serving our family, we're serving society in some way. Perhaps we're serving our nation, our country. We are being of service. And that is linked to the word dharma, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So straight away, there is a relationship. There's a relationship developing between spirituality and sustainability, as the word dharma can actually be translated to sustainability. So let's have a look at just the literature, not literature, well, the Sanskrit. So the noun or the prakrit is dharma. And it's a derivation from the root dri, which means to hold, maintain, or keep. To hold, maintain, or keep. Now, dharma actually refers to the original nature or characteristic of something, character of something, or someone. If we take any object, it has a characteristic, and that particular unchangeable characteristic is called its dharma. Similarly, we find that human beings have a natural characteristic, which is common: to love and to serve. That is our natural dharma, to love and to serve. Therefore, service is actually common in all human beings. Service. And as I said, we are serving something or the other. So we'll talk more about the idea of service and how to, you know, serve correctly or serve with a deeper understanding. Okay, does anyone have any questions at this stage? Any questions at all? Okay. As always, if you have any questions, please do let us know on the chat, and we can get you unmuted and we can talk. Okay. Now, Ashwin's written something. It is already becoming clear that a chapter which had a Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending if it is not to end in self-destruction of the human race. From Toynbee. Interesting, very interesting. Thank you, Ashwin. Okay. Now, as a student learning science at high school in London, we heard agroecology all the time. Understanding farming and ecosystems, how they work, how can humans sustain themselves. But over time, we need to bring in the idea of spirituality. So instead of agroecology, we need to be talking about dharma and ecology. And it really does need to start from a young age. I was learning about agroecology. There was no understanding of, you know, the true meaning of how we should live. But now, here at the School of Bhakti, it's our duty to try and flip that on its head a little bit and reinstate the idea of God and the presence of God. So Dharma and ecology. Okay. So first of all, let us establish our eternal position. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mame Vansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. So straight away, like this verse is telling us we actually part and parcel of God, eternally speaking. So deep down, we are very pure, but over time, lifetimes, we've got this external, impure, outer casing, but deep down we have a soul, and that soul is extremely pure, extremely knowledgeable, and connected to God, connected to Krishna. Okay. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada writes, the condition of not knowing anything about the spirit soul is called tamas. This material world is also generally called tamas because 99% of its living entities are ignorant of their identity as soul. Almost everybody is thinking that he is this body, he has no information of the spirit soul. And because we have no information of the spirit soul, our senses run rampant and we use and abuse Mother Earth, each other, and we find ourselves in a situation where climate change is happening rapidly. Cows around the world are dying and being eaten. And this is a huge, huge problem. And we see this. We see that we're trying to lord over, we're trying to, think that we're the boss around this place. So we got smart. We drilled holes. We realized this sticky black liquid called crude oil can be processed into petroleum. We got smart. We thought this was the right answer. We got smart with how we eat, but we thought we got smart. Our senses are so rampant that we can do anything and everything, uncontrolled. Pandemics happen. We've seen coronavirus, but actually things like this have been happening for years. We still have not learned lessons from it. When something goes terribly wrong, we try and put a plaster on it, not look deeper at the root cause. And for young people, coronavirus is the latest big thing. But for the older generation, many people have seen worse things than coronavirus. Again, who gave us the right to carry out deforestation activities around the world for our pleasure? But, we have. And it all comes down to this uncontrolled, unrestricted senses of ours. And this is the culture we live in. So what has Srila Prabhupada said about the material world? The living entity, although Brahman by nature, has the desire to lord over it, lord it over the material world, and due to this, he falls down. So this part is very important. We have the desire to lord it over the material world. So lording over nature, lording over fossil fuels, lording over cows, lording over any other animal that we have a desire to use and abuse and eat. And due to this, he falls down. And not just he falls down, we fall down, society falls down, Mother Earth will fall. So lording over the material world is what we're doing. And that is the cause of the calamities we're seeing in this world, because we think we're the boss and that we can do anything and everything. But association with material nature entangles him in the different modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Due to the association of these three modes, His desire to dominate the material world is there. So we're going to talk very briefly about the material world and the three modes of material nature, as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned. At this point, does anybody know what the three modes of material nature are? You may not. Let me know in the chat what you guys think the three modes of material nature are. And then we'll link it back to this ecological crisis we find ourselves in. Does anyone have any idea? Rasa Sarani Dasi is saying ignorance, passion, goodness. Rajani saying the same thing. Yes. Okay, yeah. So thank you. Yeah, and Nayana agrees as well. So in the Bhagavad Gita, actually, Krishna talks at length about the three modes of material nature. These are actually subtle forces that influence our behavior, as well as every aspect of our physical, mental, and emotional world. The Sanskrit term for these forces is guna. And the Gita explains how they pull us to act in various ways, even against our better judgment. Even though perhaps we know it's wrong, we still do things. You may have experienced this. You know it's wrong, but you do it anyway. Guna, the Sanskrit term is guna. And there's three types. Okay, so let's get into this a little bit. So Srila Prabhupada said, because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very difficult to understand Krishna and God if we think we're the boss, that we're in charge, and that cows are here for our pleasure, for our exploitation. Mother Earth is here for our pleasure, for our exploitation. It's very difficult. We're so conditioned to think that, hang on, we're here, this is us, this is our business, planet Earth, I can do what I want. But because of that mentality, this is, we're in a situation that we are in. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. Whenever we see these words, Supreme Personality of Godhead, we're talking about Krishna. Okay. So the three modes of material nature: ignorance, passion, goodness. Tamo guna is ignorance. Raja guna, passion. Sattva guna, goodness. And these, all three are very much like a binding rope. They keep us in this material world. They lock us in. But if we can understand them, progress through them, and actually eventually elevate above them, well, I mean, that really is the goal. Okay. So here we go. So let's talk about tamoguna first of all. Let's talk about ignorance. So Krishna says, Tamastva agyana jamvidi mohanam sarvadehinam. Now, just some qualities or traits about tamoguna. Madness, indolence, so laziness. If we go back here, laziness, excessive sleep, uninterested in spiritual life, atheism, so the deletion of the idea of Krishna and God, intoxication, and the birth in the lowest forms of life. And next we have Rajaguna, passion. Krishna says, Rajogatmakam Vidi Krishna Sangha Samudbhavam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, Arjun. So some traits and qualities, but this is not an exhaustive list. sense gratification, including real intense sexual desires, constant engagement in money making, and that always constant hankering for some sort of enjoyment in some sort of way. So this is the mode of passion. Okay. And then finally, we have the mode of goodness known as sattva guna. Krishna is saying, Tatra sattvam nirmalavatvat prakashakam anamayam. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating. Okay, so that sounds like, maybe this is the better one out of the other two. Peace, serenity, and harmony prevails in our environment and ourselves. But be aware, we might start to think that this life is pleasant. So even in the mode of goodness, we could still think, actually, things are going so well, I feel at peace, that we actually forget the idea that there's a higher place than this world. Okay, we've got some questions. So Pamini is saying sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, very good. Tamas guna, satya, ignorance, passion, goodness. Yes. And throughout our lives, actually, actually not just our lives, throughout each day, we flitter between the three modes of material nature. Sometimes we feel at peace. The mode of goodness is, prevailing. Throughout the day, passion might take over, ignorance. They battle between each other throughout the day. Throughout our lives. But as time goes on, as spiritual knowledge develops, we start to rise above ignorance, rise above passion, and really try and situate ourselves in goodness. But goodness is not the end point. So Rasa Sarani is saying, do we need to be free of these three, or should we try to love on the Satya Guna? Well, try to live. Yeah, it's the same thing. Goodness is the best place to be, well, is the more ideal place to be for a while. Peace, serenity, and harmony prevails in our lives. We wake up early. We offer prayers to Krishna. We eat pure food that's been offered to Krishna first. We chant Krishna's holy names. We start to develop nice relationships with people. We discuss Krishna. We sleep early. We don't get involved in gambling or intoxication or any sexual activities outside of our own marriage, perhaps. And then it really situates us in goodness. But then beyond goodness is another place to be. It's transcendental. But to get there, actually, it says that the human body has various gates. For example, your eyes, your ears, your nose. And if we can illuminate all of these gates of our body, we can actually eventually leave goodness and situate ourselves somewhere else. And this is known as Suddha Sattva. Suddha Sattva. Now, Suddha Sattva is actually known as pure goodness, not just goodness, but pure goodness. And now on this stage, it's no longer material. It's all about devotional service to God. It's all about devotional service to God. And it comes down to service, because service is actually our dharma. Our duty is to love and to serve, but to do it correctly. Okay. At this stage, does anyone have any questions, any thoughts, any realizations before we move on? Anyone's anything, please do let us know in the chat. Santi, you've raised your hand.
Yes, I
Go
have.
for it.
Probably. So to me, it would seem that there's a contradiction really, because when we think about evolution of human society, we think about things getting faster, getting better, more improved. So the introduction of tractors, etc. So this appears to be in complete contradiction towards this spiritual way of life, towards becoming more slower and a more of an agrarian kind of culture. And I'm just kind of wondering, how would you kind of resolve that particular contradiction?
It's a very, very nice question, Sandy. And it's not a one sort of click answer, but the fact that we have all come together to discuss these topics is actually part of the solution, I would say. And as we spread this sort of spiritual understanding, spiritual knowledge to people, give people a deeper meaning, a deeper sense, a deeper purpose of their life, we can definitely see society uplift. But it takes time, it takes education, it takes compassion. If someone is eating meat, that doesn't mean we don't show them compassion, not at all. We actually show them even more compassion. And we have to become like, beacons of light amongst our own smaller societies. We inspire others to take on board this knowledge, to then spread this knowledge. And we've seen it on a sort of a micro ecosystem level. We've seen, let's take Bhaktivedanta Manor as an example, or a temple. We see how this ecosystem works. Pockets of people coming together to learn more, to speak about God. And they take that knowledge away and have their own pockets of groups or social gatherings in their communities. And then it just continues on from there. So does anyone else have any other ideas on what Santi has said? Or has that sort of...
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also thinking a few days back, when we look at the cycle, right, as for Hinduism, we started with the Satya Yuga, which was pure. And then, we went to, then I think Tetra, Dwarpa, and now Kali Yuga. So when we started, we were pure, and slowly we sort of got contaminated, and, spiritually we kept on declining. So we think materially we are advancing, but actually we are declining spiritually. So we think, with modern technologies, and that is helping life. Now even, we are talking about having a settlement in Mars. But whether we settle here in Mars, I think we cannot, run away from the cycle of life and death and disease, right? Yeah, I think we just need to keep our life simple, and to keep our life simple, yeah, we sort of need to, do like even 100 years back or 200 years back, people still lived and they still ate food and they still did some work or the other, right? So we can also still do it. It is only that, yeah, because we are so used to the technology, we think that without technology we cannot do stuff, but I think definitely we can do stuff even without technology.
Very, yeah, profound. Thank you for sharing. Felix, your hand was up as well. Hold on, if we just get you to unmute initially.
Unmute. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah. I typed something in chat actually. I put that the mode of goodness feels ambiguous to me, because it can make you feel happy but more attached to the material world at the same time, as you said. But ironically, we often feel closer to Krishna when we're happy, because things are going well and we're appreciating our situation in the world. So it's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It's a lot easier to understand and appreciate God when, you know, life is going swimmingly. But when things hit the fan, then yeah, sometimes we can very quickly leave that idea and just forget all about it and forget that any appreciation for God. Rajani, your hand is up.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, I was just trying to add some point about, I don't know whether I would be correct or not, but then I just remember some points from the books that I've read. I think going slow doesn't mean that you really have to go slow, but then you're just going to a progressive spiritual path, slow, step by step. Like if I am in ignorance or passion, then if I'm in passion, then I have to lift it to the mode of goodness. And then from the goodness, I have to situate it in the transcendental platform. Likewise, I've just read in book where Prabhupada says that to live a peaceful life, we don't need like building houses, big factories, or the slaughterhouses, but simple life means just we need to have a piece of land and a cow's milk. And I also think that though we've advanced so much in terms of economic development and technology, but then the main purpose to understand our eternal relationship with Krishna, that is what is missing in our life. Because before coming to Krishna consciousness, I believe in God, but then not what I do now, like literally waking up in the morning and chanting my rounds and performing artis and everything. I used to believe that God is there, but then not by whole or soul, and not thinking that I am a soul. I was just thinking I was a body. So I think the main essence is that when we understand that we are related to Krishna, and then our main purpose is to go back home, back to Godhead, then might be the things will be much clearer what you're trying to tell. And then I think for this steps also it takes a lot of time and association that we need the most. So I think by time everything will be much more clearer. So that is what I want.
No, thank you for sharing. It's definitely profound what you said. And you said you know, we need to develop that relationship with God, with Krishna. So yeah, it's very true. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying is, by engagement in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position, and his unlawful desire to control material nature is removed. So by offering our life to God and serving Krishna, then our desire to unlawfully try and control the material world, when we think about animals, exploiting Mother Earth's natural resources, etc., all of that will go if we develop that relationship with Krishna, with God. Then naturally over time, those desires to, you know, be the boss of planet Earth will diminish. And then we go from exploitation to stewardship, where we become stewards, maintainers, you know, that is not our energy, but we're here to use it appropriately and correctly in the service of God. So from exploitation to stewardship. But to get there, we need to serve Krishna and carry out our devotional service to God. And remember, service is our dharma, to love and to serve. And like I said at the start, we're serving something or the other. We spend all of our time serving our job, the nation, we pay our taxes, and we need a job to pay our taxes. We serve ourselves, we have our senses running wild. You know, I want to eat a jam donut, so I'm going to eat a jam donut. I'm only saying this because yesterday I had a jam donut. Our senses, yes, and our family. We're serving our family. None of this is necessarily bad, but we have to see the bigger picture, because we are servants. When we tell people that, they're like, "Whoa, calling me a servant," and you know, their walls come up. Are we not? Are we not serving something or the other? It's our natural position to serve. But the idea is we want to, well, we should be and need to serve Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhaktyam mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tat vataha, which means one can understand me as I am, as a supreme personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. So if we can serve Krishna, we learn about Krishna, we hear about him, we attend courses like this, we gather with other devotees, we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we stop eating meat, we do not have any intoxications. And all of this will help us to, in that journey of devotional service. Sandeep saying we are eternal servants of Radha and Krishna. Very nice, Sandeep. Anna is saying we do see the modern world with all of our material things. We are less happy and suffer from depression more. So the key really is simple living and high thinking. Yes, thank you, Anna. Okay. Now we have these senses, but it's not restrictive because devotional life, Krishna consciousness, that Hare Krishna lifestyle is not restrictive. Of course it is. We tell, you know, as we develop, we say, don't eat meat, don't smoke, don't do this, but do this, and this. We can come to the temple and see beautiful deities and meet wonderful devotees. We can smell beautiful flowers that were offered to Krishna, and we can take those flowers home and smell it for maybe a few days after. We can hear about Krishna, we can speak about Krishna, we can have nice discussions about Krishna and his cows and the philosophy of the Hare Krishna movement, how we can apply it in our day-to-day lives. We can pray individually, we can pray together. We can eat. The Hare Krishnas eat a lot. They eat very nice things. But what they do is they cook beautiful things. They offer it to Krishna, and we pray that, thank you, Krishna, for giving us this beautiful food. You please have it first. This is for you. And then with that mood, what you've cooked is enriched with spiritual love. And then we can then consume it. But it's that prayer before makes all the difference in our lives. And temples are hives of activity, a place to really like plug ourselves in and charge ourselves up spiritually before we go back out into the world, and carry out our duties of the world. Temples are like that. Bhaktivedanta Manor in the UK is like that. And again, as I said, the invitation to please come to Bhaktivedanta Manor is very wide and very firmly open. Please do come. So as we said, our dharma is to serve, but we call it Sanatan Dharma actually, which is our eternal duty to serve God, to serve Krishna. That's our eternal duty. That is Sanatan Dharma. It's our eternal position. But to actually help us understand this, there is something called Varnashram Dharma. We're going to talk about this now very briefly. Okay. So to help us understand this, society can be divided slightly in something called Varnashram Dharma. Okay, so Varnashram Dharma is not like a man-made classification, but actually it's a God-conscious classification of society. It's a God-conscious classification of society. And it appears in all sort of human societies. Individuals actually have different innate tendencies for work. And we all exhibit different personalities. And that is okay. That is good. We have different natures. So we have the Brahmanas, we have Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. And we'll talk a little bit about how this sort of, what this sort of means. Okay. So remember, this is known as Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram Dharma. So we have our 4 varnas, the 4 sort of classifications of society. Brahmanas, we could be priests, we could be preachers, teachers, intellectuals. They are all sort of collectively known in society as Brahmins. Then we have the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas could include the police, the army, administration roles. And then you have the Vaishyas, farmers, merchants, business people who are involved in trade. Sudras, artisans, the workers. Once you know more about yourself, it's okay to, like, you know, feel at ease. It's actually empowering when you know where you're best situated. What sort of role are you best situated to play in society? If you force yourself into a role where you know, are a teacher, but actually you're more, you know, in tune with the land, you're more of a Vaishya quality, but you are, you know, trying to be a Brahmana or forcing yourself into this situation, you know, you won't be at peace. It's very empowering to know more about yourself. Varnashram Dharma. And as well as Varnashram Dharma, we have the ashram part. This first part is the Varna, and now we talk about the ashram. These are the stages in our life, the various stages in our life, the ashram part of Dharma. So when we're young, it's known as student life, called brahmachari life, brahmacharya, student life. As we move on from student life, we go into the family life. We have children. We go down that path, known as grihastha. It's like household life. As we sort of end our time in the household life, our kids have grown up, we enter varna prastha, or like retired life. We sort of slow down on our family duties. And then finally, we renounce all sort of like family sort of duties. And in that final chapter, we really hone in on our senses with Krishna, everything to do with God. And after sannyas, then that is it. That is our life. The reason why I'm talking about this on a cow course is the more we understand how society should function, we can really link it to, if society does not function correctly, we find ourselves in an ecological crisis. The material world becomes exploited. So that's what the link is with Dharma and ecology. We need to deeper understand our Dharma for us to really love and appreciate and protect our ecosystem, ecology. Question, do women go into sannyas? If so, how? Good question. I don't fully know I don't know the answer fully, so I'm not going to say or just try and answer it, but I will find out and give you a stronger answer. Does anyone else in this group have the answer to that? Maybe. If so, maybe put it on the chat. But Denise, I will definitely go on a hunt for information. Sarani, I will definitely go on that sort of. Dr. Varun Shukla has an answer. Do you want to unmute yourself, maybe?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I have heard that women should be always been protected. They first live with the father before marriage, protected by father before marriage, and after marriage he is protected by husband, and after husband get sannyas, so he will protected by the sons.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Varun Shukla. But yeah, no, that's very nice. So the idea of that women must be, protected in society. There is that a lot of literature talks about the need for, when things go wrong, the first things to go, that are exploited are women and cows. It's that motherly thing. And same with planet Earth. We talked about the mothers last lesson. So when society is not functioning correctly, the mothers of society are really affected by it, including cows. But no doubt, I'm gonna definitely come back with an answer, with another answer as well. But yeah, thank you, Dr. Varun Shukla, Vanamali Das Prabhu. Okay. And then when we think about deviations from our Dharma, that agrarian lifestyle, that peaceful, simple lifestyle, we've deviated so far from it that, of course, it's easy to see that anxiety, depression, stress, climate change, ecological crisis is happening because we've deviated so far away from the land, cows, nature, and God. But the idea is we need to reinstate all of that, God first, and everything else will follow. Land, cows, nature will come. But once we reinstate that relationship with God and really understand our Dharma, which is to love and to serve. To love and to serve. Now, I was in ISKCON, we have a department that is all about agriculture and cows. And it's known as the GBC. And the GBC, the governing body, have different departments looking after different topics. And one department looks after, globally, cows and agriculture. And the head of this department was talking to me the other day, and he was saying, we have to be like tomatoes. I was like, what? I don't like tomatoes, even not even on a pizza. But he was saying we need to be like tomatoes. Anyway, he was telling me about this and I just went with it. But it's a very, very interesting point that we need to be like this as opposed to the crude oil, because it's syntropy versus entropy. Let's take one tomato, maybe has 50 tomato seeds in it. From one tomato, we could gain 50 new tomato plants, which will all go on to grow more tomatoes. And then it just continues to snowball, and we have more and more. That sort of energy, the energy develops and grows. Syntropic energy. But society is having a problem because we have a mentality of entropy. We find some energy, we use it, and it's gone. It's gone forever, which makes society really anxious. We're always in anxiety because everything is always scarce. That scarcity mentality is running rampant. So we need to think of solutions that is more syntropy versus entropy. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions on that, please do let me know. But he was telling me about this and it then clicked on me because initially I thought he was just talking about tomatoes. But it makes so much sense. So much anxiety is caused because we live in a scarcity mentality. Everything's running out, so we need more and more and more because it's running out. So we need to, money's running out, so we need to quick make more. Everything's running out, we need to make more. So we need to really learn from the tomato plant or any plant and develop systems, natural systems that develop in a syntropic way, and we'll find a bit more harmony and peace. So I just wanted to share that reflection with you because he was talking to me about it, and I wanted to share that with you because I was a bit confused, but then it made sense. So yeah, energy, once we get it, it goes. So it's that scarcity mentality. But whereas here, let's take a dandelion, pollen season, hay fever season, everyone. I'm suffering here. One dandelion plant has all of these seeds that go off to do and make more dandelions. So we need to find syntropic ways of living, not scarcity ways of living. Which, you know, and if we have more time and we're living in a syntropic way, we have more time for what is important: spiritual life, understanding God. Okay, here we have a really beautiful picture, Srila Prabhupada at Bhaktivedanta Manor in the very, very early days. And this is our beautiful deities, Radha and Shishi Radha and Gokulananda. And Srila Prabhupada is offering his prayers to them. It's a lot different now at Bhaktivedanta Manor. But it's really nice to see how far we've come. Now, I would like to maybe if Radha or Karan is there, if we could share the link for Vedabase on the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:16-18, if we share that link on the chat, because this is a really heartfelt conversation between a cow, which represents earth, and a bull, which represents Dharma. I've shortened it, paraphrased it, but actually this conversation is quite heartbreaking. And when I first read it many years ago, I actually was, you know, it brought a tear to my eyes because it was very reflective of the world we live in. So the bull is the emblem of the moral principle and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in a joyful mood. Thank you, Vanamali Prabhu. Vanamali's put the link on for this. And in your own time, please do read it. It will take you on a bit of an emotional journey. Well, it did for me anyway. So let's sort of understand this topic and this conversation. It's a conversation between the cow, which represents Mother Earth, and the bull, which represents the moral principles. As we can see here, the cow is unhappy. The bull is unhappy and very sort of like, you know, concerned for the cow. The bull is a representative of Mother Earth. Sorry, the cow is, and the bull is the representative of Dharma, or the moral principles. And they had a conversation. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus Dharma, the bull, questioned the earth as follows. So when you have a read, please do have a read of this in your own time. They had a conversation. He's asking, why are you covered with the shadow of grief? Are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you? O Mother Earth, the supreme personality of Godhead, Hari, incarnated himself as Lord Sri Krishna just to unload your heavy burden. All his activities here are transcendental and they cement the path of liberation. But you are now here bereft of his presence. So without God in society, cows will be exploited, earth will be exploited. Without that God-conscious society, exploitation is running rampant. And this is that ecological crisis we find ourselves in. Mother, you are the reservoir of all the riches, Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulations by which you have been reduced to such a weak state. I think that the powerful influence of time, which conquers the most powerful, might have forcibly taken away all your fortune, which was adored even by the demigods. Last lesson, we talked about how much Krishna loves the cows, how the demigods love the cows. But when society is, doesn't consider Krishna or God, unfortunately, no one is there to protect them. They're exploited, they are eaten, they are abused. So I do really, really, truly recommend you read from this link. Just have a read of that conversation between the cow and the bull. It's very interesting and very moving because it's fitting of the society we live in. And for us to make real change, we need to be having these conversations, have these sort of courses so that we can understand and try and develop Krishna in ourselves a little bit more, develop that relationship with Krishna a little bit more. And we act in, then we'll start to act in a way that's more conducive, more peaceful to spiritual life. That is the link. Dharma, to serve and to love God, and ecology. They go hand in hand. There is no doubt about that. I was speaking to one person at Bhakti Manor yesterday, and we were talking about how the Native Americans, as well as the Aboriginal Australians, the originals, their culture is very much that nature, the earth, is their mother, is their, their life source. This is not, this is not something that's, exclusive to the Hare Krishnas. No. The more and more you look back at how humans used to live, there was that symbiotic understanding that we look after the earth looks after us. We look after cows, the cows look after us. We look after the bulls look after us. This is an innate thing. This is not something, a Hare Krishna exclusive ideology. No. But we're very grateful that Srila Prabhupada has opened our eyes to all of this. But yeah, and then I just wanted to, last lesson we talked about the importance of this. We really need to understand that Krishna took birth 5,000 years ago in a family of cow protectors. That speaks a lot. That speaks volumes of what our duty is. To love and to serve is our duty. And we have to really understand that Krishna took birth with, surrounded by cows in a cow protecting family. Now, Krishna grew up in a Vaishya. When we go back to the Varnashrams and the 4 divisions of society, he was a Vaishya. He grew up in a Vaishya family, actually. So that does speak volume for us. It's a big lesson for us. Now, someone once brought up a point about, is it allowed to eat meat? Are we not allowed to eat meat? Of course, we're not allowed to eat meat. That's a given. We'll talk about the absolute rule of not eating cows. But it may be considered that meat eating, intoxication, and sex indulgence are natural for the conditioned souls, so that we should not be condemned for these activities. But unless one gives up these sins, such sinful activities, there is no possibility of achieving the actual perfection of life. There is no possibility. We have to give up these things for us to understand Krishna. Now, very, very, very clearly, it should be, stated that eating cows, Srila Prabhupada has said many times in his literature, is forbidden. To eat beef is fully forbidden. And in the holy book, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that cow killers are condemned to hellish life for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of the cow. Now that is many years. It's a huge sin to kill and eat a cow. But there is hope. There is hope when it comes to Dharma and ecology. When we start to develop that understanding of our need to love and to serve, love and serve Krishna, love and serve God, these ecological issues can be solved. But if we keep trying to be the boss and try to solve things without the idea of God, it is just like an open wound and we put a tiny plaster on it. We might be bleeding out, but we put a tiny plaster on it. It's not going to get to the root cause. We have to develop that relationship with God, understand our Dharma, then ecology will sort itself out naturally. It's very difficult if we cannot. Does anyone have any questions at this stage? Rasarani is saying our Brazilian indigenous also think the same. The earth is the mother for them. Yes. Very true. Rajani, I hope you could hear me there. Ashwin saying, I like the tomato analogy. Yeah, me too. I was confused at first. Okay, so it is 11:30 now, and I don't want to keep you for too long, but one thing I would really stress is on the chat, if you scroll up, Dr. Varun Shukla posted the link for that conversation between the cow and the bull. Have a read of it, and maybe we can reflect on it on the WhatsApp group chat, perhaps a little bit later. Does anyone have any questions at the moment? Vanessa saying, how do we deal with the sins of past eating meat? It's how we deal with the sins of sort of anything that we do. As much as we can, really like understand Krishna and understand our relationship with God. Develop that understanding of how important cows are. Live life in a really like wholesome, conducive way to, you know, develop your spiritual life. Let go of materialistic desires. And over time, there's no doubt that Krishna will see all of that, all of your endeavors. There's no doubt about that. Because last week we learned that Krishna sits in everyone's heart. If you have a desire to understand Krishna and let go of your materialistic ways, Krishna's already heard that and sees that, and he'll help you to do that. So I would not worry about such a thing. I would, you know, we're all on that journey. We've had many previous lives of perhaps many sinful activities, but we're all on a journey. We're trying our best. And the fact that we've all come together on a Saturday morning to talk about these things is part of that journey. So I hope that sort of answers your question, Vanessa. Hare Krishna. Jay saying, in other religions, it is not a sin to eat a cow, but they still suffer the karmic reaction. Yes, no doubt. No doubt. Some groups will say this is okay. Some groups will say that is not okay. Yes. But, you know, just like 1 + 1 = 2, the karmic reaction is there. Santi saying the characteristics of cows represent a Brahminical society. Yes, last lesson, Santi, we did talk about what does it mean by Brahminical culture. And we talked about all the qualities of Brahminical culture that we would love to develop. Rasa Sarani saying the Saturday mornings are being the best moment of the week. Mine too, Rasa Sarani, mine too. Now, before I hand it over to Radha, is there any other questions? Felix is saying, what is the correct way to offer food to Krishna? That's a very good question. There are a series of prayers that one can do, and there are certain things that we can offer to Krishna. Vegetarian food, no use of onion and garlic, etc. But what I can do, we can actually send you some stuff, a bit more literature that explains it. But ultimately, it comes from the heart that you cooked a nice vegetarian meal without any eggs, fish, meat, garlic, onions, those sort of things. And we offer it to Krishna. We pray that actually, I've cooked this wonderful meal. I hope you enjoy it. And I did it for you. And with that mood, it becomes what we call prasad, or spiritually enriched food. And then we can eat that. And there are certain prayers that we can pray as well. Pamini is saying, why is onion and garlic not included? They're not seen as the most sort of pure foods, even though they can be seen as vegetarian. They're very much, scientifically speaking, they act as stimulants. They sort of can make our minds think in a certain way, etc. So they're not recommended. So we can't really offer that. And we do our best to avoid eating onion and garlic as well, because it said it's not really conducive to understanding Krishna. Yeah, no mushrooms either, says Anna. Yeah, because mushrooms are seen as perhaps not the cleanest of foodstuffs. Rasa Sarani saying the food in the mode of ignorance. Yes. So onions, etc. can come under the mode of ignorance. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. So ladies and gentlemen and everyone, I would recommend on the last email that you got with the School of Bhakti, there was a WhatsApp link. Please do join that, and we have, we can continue discussions on that WhatsApp group. And if there's any other questions, please fire them at me on there. But I don't want to keep up so much of your time now, as we are meant to finish at 11:30. I really hope you've gained something from this. And if I've said anything perhaps incorrectly or not fully 100%, please do forgive me. But no, for me, like Rasnari was saying, that Saturday mornings are definitely my highlight of the week, just being with you all. So I'm just going to pass it over to Radha. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the course today. I've just sent the link to the WhatsApp chat in the chat now, so please feel free to click on that, and it should take you to our WhatsApp chat. If you do have any more questions, please put it on the WhatsApp chat and we can get to them. Of course, all of these sessions are being recorded, and we have a whole list of course materials and things like that with the slides and stuff, and they will be put onto the School of Bhakti website. You should have gotten a link for it in your registration email. If not, please let us know on the chat and we can put it on there, on the WhatsApp chat, and hopefully I can get to that as well. Thank you so much for all of your participation today. It's like you have all been saying, it's wonderful to wake up on a Saturday morning and be part of this really awesome group of people. And yeah, we hope to keep seeing you in the following weeks. Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a really great weekend.
Hare Krishna. So we'll just end with a prayer and then we will go. So Om Jnana Tirmandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Hare Krishna, everyone. And we will see you all next week. Do take care, look after yourselves. Hare Krishna.